indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Committee reports. Conservation Board.
No.
Oh,
We have the hearing on the stormwater.
oops. Sorry. All right, you have a notice? I'm just trying to rush things along.
See that? Yeah. Move to close
Notice
the
of the public hearing says the topic is to find out more about stormwater management in our town and how it affects everyone in the town. The date of the meeting is May 3rd, 2017. The place and time is the Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, 10516. Time is 7:30 p.m. Please come prepared to this important meeting with your questions and comments. If you need information on the Stormwater Management Program, you may review the draft annual report prepared for the town. A copy of this report is available in the town clerk's office, highway department, and the town's website at www.philipstown.com. For additional information, you may also contact your stormwater management coordinator, Max Garfinkel, Natural Resource Officer, and it lists his cell phone.
Okay. This is a big topic in town. We do address it every month at the Conservation Board meetings, and more often than that, we've had a lot of people go out for training, including myself, over the years. And Councilman Leonard is going to make some brief remarks on this.
Yeah, obviously, MS4 basically is multiple sewer systems. When you have over 1,000 residents, such as we now are trying to get a little graphic here, so we have two maps. The map, first of all, to the left has over 600 outfall structures in the entire town. The county is in green, the red is in the town ones. So because it's one system, even though that helps us be able to coordinate with the county if there's an issue that we need to work with. Over to the right is actually inside of the yellow is actually primarily, we say the Continental Village. There's a piece of it that goes up through past Graymore and so forth on Route 9. But for the most part, it does exist mainly inside of Continental Village. And there are a number of outfall structures that we have to take a look at and make sure. The committee quickly works with Carl Frisenda, the highway superintendent. As you heard already, Max Garfinkel is the natural resource officer, and myself. We meet frequently throughout the year. We're required to put out an MS4 report to the DEC every March, okay, March to March, that's their calendar year. And basically, we have to, obviously, this is quantitative. We have, if you've read through it, you know that there's steps, there's milestones, timelines that we have to meet, that we have to set for ourselves goals to meet each year and going forward. Some of the things we've really only actually, as a group, started a little more than a year ago, but we have tried to do some more public outreach. We are trying to expand out, obviously, not just into video, but also onto the town web. We're looking to be able to put some information up there. We are and have gone to some actual town meetings, especially like Continental Village's clubhouse meetings. A presentation is put on there, discussions and so forth as to impacts from fertilizers and so forth. Be careful, nitrate goes right through the soil, right to the waterways. It doesn't slow down. And if you're having problems swimming in your lakes or seeing problems in your streams, it's probably because there's just too much fertilizer being utilized in the surrounding area. The problem, we're not unique, and it isn't just Continental Village, there's other parts of town that we monitor as well, Lake Celeste and so forth. These areas were developed many years ago when they were summer residences. So naturally, they were only used in the summer. Now that they're all year round, they're obviously putting out a great deal more in a sense of pollutants, and unfortunately, the lakes are suffering for it. So we need to take active steps to be able to fix those issues. This is a beautiful town, but more than half of it is steep slopes. So in many ways, it's dangerous from a stormwater standpoint, because every time you have any kind of a series of rain, like hopefully we don't get tonight, but you see very quickly how we get ponding at the bottom, okay? So they can cause issues for us immediately. It's very important we get very proactive. We work with Carl Frisenda, like I said, the highway. They go out and they check all of these outfalls every year. we want to know the status of them, what condition they're in, especially the ones we're starting to more identify the flood zone areas that obviously will fill up very quickly and could cause problems and have caused problems for properties and so forth. Our roads. Manitou Road is a good example of taking a look at issues in regards to floods and obviously rising sea levels and so forth. Those are the kinds of things that these kind of programs take a look at as well, and work with conservation, water quality, climate smart, all of these other programs which this town is actively involved with, works with this as well. So I think we've done quite a bit inside of 1 year, a little over 1 year, and we're looking for your input, the public's input. You can contact us anytime, attend one of our meetings, contact us, and we'd be happy to help you out at any time.
Thank you, Mike. All right, anything from the board?
About the MS4?
Yes.
And this- No, thank you for all your work, and Max,
Yeah, and
too,
our-
have come a long way.
Our
You
thanks to the
guys are-
Conservation Board.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
We've come a long way with this. Any comments from the public? Nobody wants to comment on the MS4? What's that? Close, yes, Tina. Could I get a motion to close the public hearing on the annual stormwater report?
Also move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Immediately following, can I do it now? Committee reports. Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on April 10th. Basically, a couple of repeats in there. 65 Steuben Road. Again, this is an issue with a property that was basically grandfathered. In order to allow them to put a septic in, we are allowing them to put 15 feet into the actual buffer just for fill. In compensation for that, the additional 85 feet, because buffers are 100 feet from wetlands and from watercourses. In this case, it's from the Canopus Creek. They are going to be putting in plantings and so forth, so we're going to be getting a real plus out of that. That's ideally what you want to do along any kind of waterfront, is have that buffer, is have that natural buffer like that, so that's a definite plus. The other one was something that actually was found by the Conservation Board when they drive around, is a person didn't realize who had a non-compliant house, which means that it was built prior to the zoning codes, and their property and so forth is close to the actual stream itself. So we work with the applicant. They've been very cooperative. That works so well when people come in and realize that there's things that they don't understand, that they need assistance from the Conservation Board, and that's been moving very well, again, towards that same idea that I just explained before. There's also, Nat Prentice came in regards to the comprehensive plan update. They have gone out to each actual board and explained their role, what they're looking from help from the different groups and so forth, and that was a very good discussion. And then I'd say the biggest item they had was the Hudson Highlands Review. This basically got involved with, there was a report submitted to the Planning Board, and of course then to the Conservation Board in regards to the comments from the Conservation Board regarding a positive declaration that they were recommending. The board actually reviewed the comments, actually talked to the applicant that night, but did not change any of their minds. All seven felt and filed the report with the Planning Board for a positive declaration. That's obviously the lead agency makes a determination if one or more significant environmental impacts could possibly require, and in this case it would if it's adopted and was for an actual EIS to be performed. It's no light issue at all to take. It's a very serious matter. I don't know if the town's ever done one prior. I'm not aware of any. So it is a big step, but the board did feel for a number of issues that there were quite a few concerns that were still out there that hadn't been addressed. And the next meeting is May 8th.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
I was unable to attend the Rec Commission meeting this month. It was Tuesday of this week. I was preoccupied, but I will attend next month and give you 2 reports.
Double up for us.
I will.
All right, thank you. Putnam Coalition That Cares.
Philipstown Community That Cares Coalition met last Wednesday. That's okay. We're all part of the same team. Putnam CTC was actually at our meeting last Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? We had a evening meeting, which is often helpful. I like how they sometimes rotate it. We had a lot of people in attendance. Judge Reitz, the Putnam County Drug Court judge, was presenting. He was invited by the Philipstown CTC to present the issues at drug court. You know, how does it work? What can we do as a community to piggyback with them? And some great ideas were shared. The community got a really in-depth description of what drug court is, the effectiveness of it, you know, how it's helped so many people avoid incarceration and be directed toward treatment. And it's something that we would like to do more of here in our town court. So our town justice, Camille Linson, was present, and I think what really came out of it is we've gotten the town court and the county court to agree to work together to see how we can provide the drug court service here in Philipstown. And it really appears to, it seems like that's going to happen. Camille's working very hard, and you know, she's attended the drug court over at Putnam County several times, which I would encourage anybody to do. I went to a couple in Middletown. They also have a drug court. There are not many in the area. I think Putnam and Middletown are the only two that I know of. And, you know, if you go to a graduation, it's very uplifting to see how these people are, you know, making their lives better through this system. So I'm hopeful that we can, as part of the Philipstown Cares Coalition, make that work here. But it was a great meeting. We had Cove Care there, which was formerly Putnam Community and Family Services. We had representatives from the Putnam CTC, and you know, this coalition is unlike any I've seen, and we're really lucky to have them. So I don't have the date of the next meeting. It's usually the third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, I attended that meeting as well. I thought it was very informative. Judge Reese did indicate that if you do you're very lucky to get arrested in Putnam County, because we do have this drug court here. Many other places, counties don't have this type of court system, and a lot of kids that go into the court system and go to the jail system really don't have much of a chance. So it was very enlightening to me as well. It's very, very good.
I really hope we can make that work and provide that service here. Camille's actually already doing it, and you know, if we could just get everybody on board in the village courts and the town court to do the same, I think, you know, it will really help.
All right. Thank you. I mean, it's always borne out that treatment will work far better than incarceration. That doesn't do much for you being locked up. Thank you. Planning Board.
Okay, Planning Board. I attended the Planning Board on April 19th at the VFW Hall. First thing on the agenda was return of escrow to Alltech Service Center, which is Robert Miller, 1380 Route 9. He withdrew his application, so he's getting his escrow back. So he decided not to go forward with that project he was looking for. As Mike indicated, the Hudson Highland Reserve, the Planning Board did vote on this. They voted 5-2 on a positive secret declaration for the Hudson Highland Reserve. So there's definitely environmental impact to that property up there. This is, as you know, I've been reporting on this for many years now. This is, I guess, is a long time coming to get this vote out there. So the next steps will be for them is, well, the biggest concern that the board had is the equestrian center up there. They're looking to board 40 horses and amount of homes around the pond. There are concerns as well. So if they can address that one way or another, maybe there's a possibility they could get this through. I don't know. But the next steps for them is going to be a scoping session that's going to be set for the next planning board meeting, which is set for May 16th, 7:30. The next item on the agenda was James Copeland, 3052 Route 9, Cold Spring. This is the former Old Stone Antique Store on Route 9. He's just going to looking to change that application to change it from retail to office space. The last few site visits, for some reason, been canceled, or the occupant or the applicant missed the last site visit. So, hopefully this weekend, Sunday, May 6th, 9:30, there will be a site visit scheduled for that site. Lake Surprise Camp, as well, as I've been reporting over that over the last several months. The board approved their application, which is basically for safety issues up there, for traffic and also the stormwater management, as Mike's indicated, stormwater management is very important aspect of every project that's going on here in Philipstown. So they declared a negative secret declaration and approved their site plan, so they're already working on their plans. They want to try to get that project completed before the summer camp starts. So it was imperative that they got the approvals when they did. Under new business, Garrison Property Holding LLC, 8892 Whipping Willow Pond Road. The applicant is seeking a major site plan approval for construction of a single-family home, a residential accessory cottage, resurfacing and improving the portions of the driveway, and installing a new septic system. The septic system has already been approved from the county. Also, they're looking to demolition 3 buildings, a cottage, a barn, and to rebuild all 3 of those. This, like I said, is a major project. So the next steps there'll be a site visit for, again, on May 6th, 10:15, which is this Sunday. On the agenda was Alex Campbell, 4 Cliff Court in 28 Upland Drive. This applicant is seeking approval to access to the property with intent of construction of a single-family home. A short EAF application is required, was referred to the firehouse, and there'll be also some issues with the road. I guess there's a lot of issues with the road area down there, and a future site visit will be scheduled. Other business, Lithgow Osborne approached the planning board because he's part of the comprehensive plan, and he's also indicated to want their input, and Kim Connor graciously provided that she will be volunteering for that. And so the comprehensive plan meets the 2nd and 4th Thursday of each month. Next meeting, the meeting was adjourned at 8:55. Next meeting is scheduled for May 17th, 7:30.
Thanks, Bob. Zoning.
I attended the April 23rd meeting of the ZBA. There were 3 public hearings. First was WHUD's tower replacement, 22 Sky Lane, appeal to replace the existing radio tower. The public hearing was held and appeal was approved 5-0. Neve Group, Todd Berlin, 22 Hudson River Lane in Garrison, an area variance for an in-ground pool. The public hearing was held and it was approved 3-2. Denise Grillo and Denny Clark, 28 Lane Gate Road, Cold Spring, side yard setback for an addition to an existing house. A public hearing was held and approved 5-0. There were 2 new applications, Dan and Rebecca Ward, 69 Highview Terrace, seeking a variance to construct a garage that is 2,500 square feet, where the limit is 1,000 square feet. The application was found complete and referred to public hearing on May 14th. And there was Dana and Kevin Raymond, 28 and 30 Hudson River Lane, for multiple variances to combine 2 lots and build 1 single-family home and 2 garages. The application was found complete and referred to the public hearing on May 14th, which will be the next meeting. And the comp plan committee also came to the zoning board looking for some input on any changes for the comprehensive plan. So,
All right. Thanks, John. Highway.
I have the highway report, Philipstown Town Board. Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent, work performed for the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of April. April was slow in warming up, keeping road conditions messy. The highway crew has been out filling potholes, laying down cold patch, and clearing waterways. As warmer weather approaches, our crews will be out daily getting the roads back in shape. Please have patience with us. This is not something that will happen overnight. With the number of men available and multiple tasks to perform, each crew will be working to the best of their ability to complete routine projects as well as ongoing projects and new work which comes up daily. Due to high volume of fallen limbs from all the winter storms, the crew is doing a lot of brush chipping. A note to homeowners, we ask that you please do not continue raking brush and dragging to the side of the road for pickup and chipping. This is delaying other necessary work from being started, in addition to becoming costly to the highway department budget. A sweeper was rented mid-month and cleaning of the roads began. This work will continue into May. An unfortunate incident occurred on a private road when water from a pipe blocked full of water, winter storm debris, was cleared. Water rushed onto town roads, damaging and putting debris on them, which is against the town code. Although not intentional, the crew was called out in overtime to help remedy the situation. We are asking that all homeowners to be aware and think ahead when repairing damages on your property. The Highway Department received approximately 35 phone calls regarding road complaints and other road issues. The Highway Department has spent roughly $7,000 in vehicle maintenance for the month of April. Submitted, Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent.
That water incident also had the potential to be a lot worse than it was because it wound up rushing through someone's yard where they were going to have a kid's birthday party and washed all the tables and chairs into the stream. So as unintentional as it was, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, if they were sitting there having that party, they would have
Washed away.
Steep slopes, water travels real fast.
real fast, and there was a lot of it, and it came down fast.
It just,
Can't absorb.
you know, I had this issue where I live. It really points out, even if you live on a private road, if you're going to change a water course or put in a culvert or put in a pipe, you need a permit, and it doesn't happen on private roads. I would like the contractors who are working on these to all be aware of it, to see that they do have a permit. I know it's not the contractor's responsibility to, you know, ask the homeowner if they have a permit when they're working on a private road, but it affects all of us. It affects our water, affects our lakes, and it's a problem in this town. People think they live on a private road and they can do whatever they want, and it's just really,
Up until the point it impacts the public road,
well, or impacts
your
the-
neighbor,
Your
and you wind
neighbor.
up with a civil
You-
problem. I mean,
it's-
that could have been a real problem.
All these things require permits. That's why, you know, we
Yeah.
have this code.
That's why, yep. I also met with Carl today with regard to the speed limits. We're honing that in a little bit just to find out, because there seemed to be some confusion as to which ones had already been approved in the past, which ones we had resolutions on, and which ones we need to go further with. But he's got signs for all the ones that have already been approved by DOT. So, South Mountain Pass, they won't categorize, no, because they're not going to be responsible even for a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, saying that's
safe, right?
that's safe. No, they won't. So,
Because I saw,
Will he be adding signs or like taking signs down and replacing them if the speed limit's
he'll
changed?
be adding signs. He'll be putting up suggested speed limit signs on South Mountain Pass, though. And there are a lot of issues with South Mountain Pass. There's not a, well, you're the beneficiary of the beautiful paving. You're on the right end, but the people on the 9 end are not happy. Not. And I'm hearing it a lot. No, I don't blame them either. I mean, that road it's tough. There's not much you can do with it. I mean, you're on ledge.
It's just
Steep.
really, realistically, it should be a one-way road, honestly. Yeah, but I
It should
drove
be.
it Wednesday, and it's 3/4 of the road. You can't pass anybody.
Well, it's a losing battle. We're not getting anywhere with that road. We're just not. We fix it all the time. We're down the ledge. We fill it in. It's going in the streams. It's going in people's backyards.
it was the same exact case on East Mountain Road until it was paved. It was continuous maintenance on East Mountain North until it was paved.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
can't imagine what that would have been like during the hurricanes. But, thanks for the highway report there, John. Building and land acquisition. I met with Greg Winter, our building inspector, today to talk about this building and to go over any code issues that we have with the plans. He marked them up and came up with some other ideas. And today, I guess Justin came down and met with Kelly Frick in the courts to talk about what's going to happen back there and with this whole arrangement. So we get her input, and then we'll go back to Justin, get things finalized, go talk to the village about it, and then get a bid document together for this project.
I was supposed to meet with Comfort Master today at 6:30. He had to cancel, so I'm meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So
Oh.
we're going to come up with some kind of heating and cooling plan to update the system.
You gonna have beer at that meeting?
We might,
It's
Keep
Friday.
you cool.
if you're buying.
Right, also, the windows for this building must be in,
windows are the invoice the other day, so they're
but they're
here.
sitting there, right? So we're gonna rebid the install on those, and that's gonna happen within the next 2 weeks as far as getting the bid document. I talked to Ron again
I
today.
did too. Yesterday I spoke with Ron,
Getting the idea.
and he's getting the idea that he needs to accomplish the bid spec.
Yeah.
Should we put those windows in before the construction though, or is that gonna be part of the package? How are we gonna handle
We
it?
wanna get those windows in as soon as
So
possible.
it's not gonna affect the
No.
construction of this building, damage anything? Okay, that's my only concern.
Putnam County Legislator,
Hello? Hello?
hello?
I don't even go down here or up there. Senior Center. It's going to start. The bid was awarded to Key Construction Services LLC out of Poughkeepsie. So we initiated the last bit of funding, and they should be starting anytime now. So you'll see them working over there. They seem to think it won't take as long as we thought it would, that by the fall, we should have a center that we can start using, which is phenomenal after all this time. It's just, yeah, it's great. As far as naming the center, I didn't get a lot of input on that. I did get a few people that reached out to me, but they wanted it named after individuals. And how do you pick one individual over another when they're all, you know, great people that really contributed to our community? So we didn't look at that anymore, and we went with Friendship Center in Philipstown. Says it all. We want it to be an inviting place for seniors, so that's the way we're going to go.
It's not going to be named after me, Barb.
No, I passed you up, John.
That was 4-1 against you, Johnson.
Yeah. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to meet with Mike Cunningham and Amber, and I'd love any of you to come and sit and decide on what programs we should have in there. I don't want to conflict with what the rec has already done. They do a great job. But maybe we can enhance some of the things they do and kind of work together to come up with a nice list of programs for our seniors.
Yeah, especially things that are, you know, burdensome to residents who have to go across the county to get those programs.
Yeah.
Really, you know, would be great to get some of those services over here. And I know, Nancy, you had talked about one program in particular.
Well, I don't think this building is going to be used for anything but the senior center.
Well, my goal is to get the seniors up and running and get that center done. And then by 2:30, the seniors are out of there. Why can't we use it for something else that is needed in our community? So we'll sit, I'd be happy to sit with you and talk about whatever you think is important to bring over here. I have some ideas of my own, you know, but I want to make sure the senior center is up and running smoothly and that parking is not an issue, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a good sort of break-in period to get the seniors in, see how the traffic flow goes, things like that. But I know they're looking forward to it, so.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I hear different stories, so I guess I can ask you. One was from the beginning, it was going to be a combined, you know, building. We were going to use it for the seniors until 2:30, and then it was going to be available for other. And then I heard that was completely off the table. So I don't know. I'd love to plan. I mean, my point has always been since 6 years ago, talking about resources, what we need here. It's always been said, PINS program, more exercise programs for the seniors, programs for teens. And we don't know if the teens are going to be able to go into that building or not. So senior center aside, we'd love to have more programs over here.
I share
If we can't
your
use
feelings.
this Butterfield space, as I've said over and over again, we have other spaces where these programs can be held. We don't have to wait for Butterfield. We don't even have to wait until the fall to bring those services here in Philipstown. We need them here and now. We don't have to wait for Butterfield. That's just been my point all along.
Where would you?
Where do you want them? We have a rec center, we have a VFW hall, we have a library, we have 5 firehouses, we have a lot of space. You're renting space at Butterfield, there's plenty of spaces for rent in town.
Well, I can't see the county renting another space. So let's try to concentrate on this space and see what we can bring into it.
Well, I think also it'd be a good period to discuss, you know, meet and discuss what programs we'd like to see here, regardless, you know, whether it's in Butterfield. I may be naive, but I don't know why we couldn't use the Butterfield Center if it's going to be empty for, you know.
We need a
Good
PINS
portion of time.
program over here now, that's all.
Yeah.
We need a
Well,
lot
let's
of-
get together. The sooner we get together and talk about it, the sooner it'll happen.
Exactly. So I'll let you know when we're going to meet with Amber, and then we can go from there.
All right.
Okay?
Oh, do you have a feeling about the possibility of getting the PINS program here?
Sure.
All
I'm
right.
definitely open to that.
Great.
Definitely.
All right.
My committee, the One Army in the War on Addiction Task Force, had its second meeting. It's a great group of people. It's Mike Piazza from Social Services, Joe DiMarzo, Commissioner of Social Services and the Youth Bureau, Sheriff Langley, Bob Tendy, the DA, Kristen McConnell, Prevention Council, Doreen Lockwood, Community That Cares, Bruce Kelly, Community That Cares, Susan Solomon, Drug Crisis in Our Backyard, and Diane Russo from Cove Care. Great people. And we're really trying to, there's so many issues, and it's so tragic what's going on. We're trying to concentrate on what we can do legislatively now to get stuff done right away. So we picked 3 initiatives right off the bat. One is raising the smoking age for all tobacco products, including vaping products, from 18 to 21. Vaping is a real problem in our schools. It's just, when you hear the statistics and you talk to any superintendent of any school, they don't know what to do. I know the coalition had a nice meeting, a very informative meeting on vaping, and it's just tragic what's going on with that.
Yeah, the federal government needs to step in too. I mean, this whole thing of marketing these things to children is ridiculous, and the federal government is sitting by idly and letting it happen. So
Yeah.
it's insane. I mean, you don't sell, tricks are for kids vape to adults or
Bubble
grape
gum
or
flavor,
bubble gum. It's
the marketing is
no,
just
it
outrageous.
just shows how strong that lobby is in Washington and how much money they put into this and how willing, people in Washington are willing to go along with this. It's horrible.
I'm not saying that raising the age is going to fix the problem, because you can still get it online, but it might help to curb it a bit. They say that 95% of adults who smoke today started before the age of 21.
Grape flavored whiskey, and then here kids, here's grape whiskey. It's good for you.
There's a litany
Yeah,
of,
Tango is like orange whiskey.
there's many counties in New York that have taken this initiative. There's 19 so far all over the state that have taken the initiative to raise the age. So that's something we're going to push forward as soon as I get it written.
We did speak to our attorney about creating things in our code to make sure that they don't occur here in Philipstown, and he's
You said that, because I have
researching that.
sample legislation or local law from Castle Point that they excluded included vape shops in their zoning laws. Because as we know, zoning laws are up to towns and villages, not the county. So I brought this just for you to look at. I know Philipstown has a law against adult shops. I remember doing that when we did our
It's
zoning
not a
laws.
law against, you just can severely limit
Well,
the
this
places
is,
where
this
they
is
can be.
where it is. It's like 1,000 feet from a school, not near libraries
set
or
up a zone for it.
playgrounds.
It's-
So I'll give you this just to look at.
Yeah, we
But
should put it
Steve's-
next to you.
That would be great, and Steve is in the process of looking at that.
I'll
Yeah.
give him this,
Creating that
so we'll
code.
go on with that. So that was it, raising the smoking age, zoning laws. We tried to look into prohibiting dispensaries for medical marijuana. We thought that would be a good way to, because often the medical marijuana leads into recreational. But unfortunately, that's a state initiative. The state decides where they're gonna go. And I don't think they end up in Putnam because we're so small. They're gonna go where the big traffic is, So we're always looking, the task for the next meeting is to come up with another initiative that we can move forward. So it's a good group. I'll keep you informed on how that goes. And about the drug court, Gina Capone from Putnam Valley has also been doing, Judge Capone, been doing a version of drug court. So I thought getting the 3 judges together in the room, sit down and just brainstorm.
With Gina as well. Or
Because I'd really like to see this in every court in Putnam, not just, a few with great ideas. And I applaud them for doing that. Hazardous Waste Collection Day is this Saturday, May 5th. You have to schedule in advance, so you call the health department at 808-1390. This is a great way to keep these pesticides, cleaners, oil-based paint, solvent thinners out of our water, out of our ground. People don't realize, sitting around in the garage, it could leak out. You never know. So that's a great initiative. Let's see. I'm still working on plastic bag ban. I'm getting a little pushback, but I'd like to see a ban in Putnam County.
You want a letter of support from us?
Yes,
I'm all for it.
I would.
Absolutely.
Please.
You mean the plastic shopping bags that people get at
Yes.
I just saw our community go to it, and everybody starts at first, but you catch on real fast, and then you bring
I
the bags
know.
in, so
it's
it goes quick.
You set the bar that low. If you can't do that, what are you going to do?
I mean,
Less
they're
than
finding
5% of those bags are ever recycled.
ever,
in the
and they
world,
last
out of the
forever.
world.
Yes.
They last forever, so I
And they're
think
winding up
it's-
in the ocean.
Yes,
And-
they are. Yes.
I know that the state is looking to do it also, but I'd like Putnam to be out there in front.
Let's do it.
Why wait for the state? Let's do it ourselves. We know what plastic does to our environment. They're finding little pieces in fish that we consume now, so come on. Also styrofoam, I'm working on that too, but that's for another day. The last thing I have is launched in 2015 by Dutchess County Executive Mark Molinaro, Think Differently is a highly successful initiative aimed in fostering a welcoming and inclusive environment for individuals with special needs. So myself and Assemblyman Kevin Byrne have invited him down to Putnam to do a presentation on Think Differently. Working with the disabled these last few years has really opened my eyes to the difficulties they have every day. And if we as a town can include them, educate our businesses, go into our schools, talk about the disabled and how to make life a little easier for them, like getting an elevator.
Or transportation from Putnam County to their programs.
There you go.
That would be great.
I encourage you all to come May 25th at 10:30 at the Bureau of Emergency Services building. He does a great presentation.
All right.
And that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd just like to mention one thing at the meeting I went to last week as well. A lot of people think the gateway drug is marijuana, and to me, that's why I always thought it was too. But at that meeting, they indicated it's cigarettes. So kids that start smoking cigarettes at 13, 14 years old, and then they go to marijuana, then it progressively goes to other things. But I never even thought about cigarettes being the gateway drug. It's a good
Cigarettes
point that they bring up.
And the
on that.
vaping, we really need to educate everybody on how bad the vaping is.
Federal government needs to step in on that and just ban it. It's ridiculous. All right, Cemetery Committee. Let's pick up
Okay.
the pace here.
All right, cemetery
Be an hour into this meeting. Committee
met on April 10th. We had a speaker there, a guest speaker, Tom Campanelle, and basically, he's offered some assistance to our group in regards to scouts and Eagle Scouts for mapping of the Mountain Avenue Cemetery, which we desperately need to do. I want to give a thank you to Highway for taking away all of the brush that was in the Cedar Street Cemetery. I mean, I've never seen so many branches down over this winter. It was just unbelievable. So kudos to them for getting rid of that so we didn't have any problems. We are taking down some dead trees along with the adjacent neighbor on Cedar Street. It's not just a concern for the actual graves themselves. There's a lot of school kids that hang out on that pathway. So from a safety standpoint, we're doing that as well. I did attend the county meeting on April 11th. As you know from previous meetings, obviously we were moving forward with creation of our own 501c3. We reviewed everything. We finalized everything. I was asked to be one of the trustees. We have created our own we will be creating our own private funding. This will not be controlled by anybody except the actual group itself. It is being structured so that all 6 towns, any funds that go into this will be distributed equally through all 6 towns. We're not going to go proportional by size or anything, unless a donation is made specifically wanting it to go to a specific cemetery or a town or whatever, then that would be different. I also volunteered to host our turn at the county meeting. That particular meeting on the 11th is in Putt Valley. We'll be hosting on May 24th at 6:30 p.m. here. So especially if any board members are available to even stop by, I would appreciate it because all of the representatives for each of the towns will be here. They're very impressed with our committees. I think the board should be very happy with the results. I think we have a dedicated group of committee members, and we're making some very good progress. So they're eager to come over. We will be showing them the village cemeteries, which we've made a lot of progress on, and we're starting work now in the Cedar Street Cemetery. If you go there, you'll see all the dirt, the stone, and all the tripods and all the material there. So we're continuing on that. We also will be putting out the flags for the Memorial Day Parade. That will be coming up shortly as well. and we're meeting on May 8th.
Thanks, Mike.
Great.
Butterfield Library.
I will bullet point the bullet points. So now this great unique library is lending out humane animal traps, both large traps and small traps, large for raccoon or feral cats, small traps for mice. They also offer lending out yard tools, power washers, leaf blowers, and camping and hiking equipment. Don't do too much with the leaf blowers, please. All you need is a library card. The annual book sale will start this May on the 18th at 5:30. There's also walk-in tech help at the library between 3 and 5 p.m. on Fridays. Ask for Patrick. If you can't make it on a Friday, email the library and they will arrange a one-on-one session with you. There's also a lot of digital material from the library. You can just go on the library's website. You can stream movies, documentaries, TV series, download books and audiobooks. And you can also download or stream free music, and you can keep 3 songs per week through FreeGal. Butterfield and Desmond Fish Library they've partnered again to bring the community small business workshops. Check the library websites for more information and dates. And if you have an idea for a new library service, contact Jillian Thorpe at jbldirector@gmail.com or contact her at 265-3040. That's it for the library. That's great that they're all that stuff to offer. Yeah, it's very wonderful.
Thank you. Review of the minutes. Monthly Town Board meeting of April 5th, 2018. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Executive session, April 11th, 2018. This was with regard to the Homeland Tower issue.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? I vote aye.
Abstain.
You abstain.
Abstain.
Public hearing of April 11th, 2018, Cold War Veterans Exemption.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? I vote aye. Weekly Town Board meeting of April 11th, 2018. This was also to do with Homeland Towers and several other items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Hearing of April 11th, 2018, hearing denial of wetlands permit with regard to the denial for the access permit from Homeland Towers.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. We spent a lot of quality time with them this month. On to the agenda.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is a resolution accepting the stormwater annual report for the town of Philipstown for the year 2017-18.
We had a public hearing on this earlier. Mike laid out the importance of the stormwater program and managing stormwater and how it affects the town. So with that, I would entertain a resolution accepting the stormwater annual report.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? It's accepted. Great.
Next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the contract between the town and Putnam County Department of Real Property for preparation of all documents needed in relation to the tax collection, assessment rolls, etc.
That's something we do every year. The county assists us with preparing the tax bills, and Putnam County Real Property Tax Service contract is something we enter into them yearly. So with that, I would ask for a resolution authorizing me to sign the contract for Real Property Tax Service.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Next item is Michelle Smith of Hudson Highlands Land Trust to discuss the new proposal submitted by the Chazen Companies for the town of Philipstown groundwater report update.
All right. Hello, Michelle.
Good evening, Michelle Smith, Hudson Highlands Land Trust. So I've been before the town board several times in the past to talk about updating the 2007 groundwater study. And you now, in your meeting packet tonight, there's a proposal from Chazen to update, to more than update that 2007 study. So it includes several things. One is updating, basically doing the basic update. So the first is doing the basic update, all the data tables, things like the depths of wells that people are drilling. So we hear a lot anecdotally that the depths are getting deeper for different reasons, whether it's the the water supply itself in the aquifers, or whether it's just technology, and maybe Chazen will be able to shed some light on that as well. And as you know, a lot of the wells that we have in Philipstown are on the bedrock aquifer, which is most of the land in Philipstown. In addition, what they included in the scope of work is working with the town and various representatives from the town to identify sites where either historic land use or current land use gives cause for concern about what the impact it's having on some of our water sources. So, I mean, the obvious one being Route 9, some of the areas, some of the businesses along Route 9, and the impact that some of those activities might be having on Clove Creek and the Clove Creek aquifer. So identifying sites and then getting a sampling program up and running as part of the proposal. The proposal doesn't include the sampling costs itself. But we actually do have another source of money. So I've also mentioned that in looking to do an expanded water study for Philipstown, that includes things like roads and the use of road salt and pesticides and things like that, and how they're impacting the aquifers as well as the cold spring water supply. We applied for grant money from the state, which I'm pleased to say that we were awarded the grant. So we found out 2 weeks ago. And we're actually contracting with Chazen ourselves. So the Hudson Highlands Land Trust, we should get that money pretty soon to start the contract. So we're contracting separately with Chazen to incorporate the budget that you have wouldn't cover all of this as well. So our contract will cover conservation measures, so that Chazen will do an analysis of the Cold Spring watershed, which, as you know, is the Foundry Brook watershed, which is in Philipstown, and say what are the most important parcels that need conservation or extra land use protection measures. And they'll also do the same thing for the Clove Creek aquifer area for Philipstown. And also look at some of the issues in Continental Village. I know most of Continental Village is on the New York City aquifer, but not all of it. There are still people there that are on wells, and there's the combined use of septic and wells on small parcels is concern for drinking water. So basically we'll look at conservation measures for all of the drinking water supplies across Philipstown, as well as the road issues, and start a sampling program as well for areas of concern in Philipstown. So that's what we'll do with the second contract with the grant money, and the first one will be the update, the proposal from Chazen to the town of Philipstown is covering the basics of updating that groundwater study and then identifying like the Route 9 sites and other sites of concern that will be candidates for sampling. And so the one to Philipstown, that proposal is $10,000, which is conveniently what you budgeted in the budget. And we kept them, working back and forth. And Richard, you're involved in those discussions. We kept them to like a fixed price, and so that's what you have before you.
Great. So we had a workshop with Russell Urban Mead from the Chazen Company. We've worked with him before on the original water study. He presented to the town board. We have this document. I would encourage the town board to read through it carefully, because I'd like to have a resolution next week authorizing the release of those funds so we can enter into this contract with the Chazen Company. We did budget for it this year. It's in the budget. So, and I imagine there'll be some synergy with the Highland Land Trust and some economy of scale there. We'll be getting more bang for the buck because they're working with you and working with us in the same town. So.
And then the other thing I would like to do with our grant funds, I'm trying to keep a reserve of our grant funds as well, so that if we do sampling, because none of our proposals have the cost of sampling, and that can get quite expensive. Right. So I'm trying to hold some of our grant funds sort of in reserve if we really identify some key issues and some key sites for sampling, so that we have some money available for that.
All right.
I just got a question about Wells, are you looking for newer wells that have been recently drilled to see if they're deeper than wells that were done 30 years ago?
Yeah,
or
so
what are you
so
just
if you
looking- just
so
curious what you're
basically
looking for.
if you look at the 2007 report, what Chazen had in there, I think it was table 1 of that report, was they had average well depths that were drilled in Phillips. I think they can get access to all of the wells that have been drilled and look at what the depths are, and basically that table was from like, it was a 2007 study, but the table that they had well depths, average well depths from 1990 to 2000, and you could see every year the well depths were going up. So we haven't looked at well depths. We don't have any data on well depths since 2000. So we've got 18 years. So basically they'll be filling in the gaps and saying, well, have they been getting deeper, and why as well.
From 2000 and on.
Yeah, so updating the latest data that we have, yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll get to this next week and get it approved. And
That sounds great.
I just want to say thank you.
yes,
Oh, no, thank
Just
you.
I'm like sitting here going, who gets this? And we're really fortunate to
Yeah,
have.
well, and I'm pleased that we've had so much discussion about water already. So, thank you guys for being on top of this issue, because nobody wants to be the next city of Newburgh with all the problems that they have. So you really have to be proactive, and in the long run, it's going to save so much more in terms of money and health costs.
you know what I mean, it needs to be taken seriously. You look at our Route 9 corridor; it's our industrial corridor backed up against our aquifer, so it's a bad combination. So we do need to offer that protection.
HALT a couple of weeks ago hosted this very discussion, and you might, I don't know if you want to speak to it at all, but I want to commend you for it. I was very impressed with it. I learned a lot. Russell, I actually raised that question about the Cornwall issue with the water, and it was kind of surprising for him he was answering everything else and then said, this one's a tough one. We don't really know what we're going to do yet, so.
Yeah, that there's a lot going on
Yeah.
still with that, and I'm sure you can talk about some things
Yeah.
and not others. But yes, thank you for mentioning the water forum. Thank you for coming. We actually were videotaped by the finest videographer in town, so our video is actually accessible from our website, and it's on YouTube of that morning panel. So we spoke a lot about what happened in Newburgh, in Beacon with the safe yield analysis and the Philipstown groundwater issues, and the Cornwall. We didn't get to cover that because there's lots of other stuff going on with that one.
One town trying to get water from another town where they bought the property, and it raises so many issues, because how much water do you take? What's that going to happen to the property? What's going to happen to the people in the area? I mean, we don't really have meters on land for how to do that, so it's quite a problem, and it could happen in any town, in any county. So it's not just limited to them. It's right across the river, that problem, and it could happen here, so.
It's not going to happen here.
Okay.
All right, moving right along.
The next item is a resolution authorizing the release of escrow funds to All Tech Service Center, Robert Miller of 1380 Route 9. We have a letter here from the Philipstown Planning Board, and on April 19th, they made a motion to release any remaining escrow funds.
Okay, we have approval of the planning board to release the escrow funds, so with that, I would entertain the motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I vote aye, thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing the highway departments to bill a resident for damages done to a town road in the amount of $450.36, which includes overtime, and this is nunc-pro-tunc.
So this bill's already gone out to the owner, and the work has been done. This is something we referenced earlier on Upland Drive, someone doing some work to relieve some water out of their yard and suddenly released
Too much.
thousands and thousands of gallons down Upland Drive, over a town road, through someone else's backyard, wiping out their birthday party for kids and damaging our road. So we are charging them for what it cost us to repair our road. And I imagine the neighbor has probably got some action going against them also.
Not a bad deal. Have the town do your.
No, Yeah, it is reasonable, but that's what it cost us, so that's what we're recouping. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye, thank you.
This is the code enforcement monthly reports. Total fees collected, $25,334. 23 permits issued, 1 new commercial industrial building, 2 addition, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 2 additions, alterations, or repairs to commercial buildings, 18 all other permits, pools, sheds, deck, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 24 COs issued, 2 stop work orders issued, 2 operating permits issued, 1 inspection of public assembly, 2 inspections of commercial occupancies. Projects of significance, the Manitou School expansion and the Butterfield Building number 3. Now the report for the Village of Cold Spring. Fees collected $3,090, 8 permits issued, 2 additions, alterations, or residential building repairs, 3 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 7 COs issued, and 3 operating permits issued.
Our thanks to Greg Warner. It's combining building apartments with the Village of Cold Spring has just been so successful, and it shows what you can do with coordination. Also, that coinciding with the new building really has made things a lot easier for them. This separation of the public from the building inspector makes things much nicer, and having the new file system over there is also really good. And we got just a really great crew working in the building department. So,
Rich, are they still looking for a part-time assistant over there?
I know Greg is still looking for someone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
They have that code enforcement. Is he looking for a part-time inspector or a?
He's looking for a part-time building inspector, yes. So someone with a code enforcement background who is certified.
Not certifiable.
Not certifiable. We got to be certifiable to work here. So, I would like to meet next Wednesday to approve the resolution for the spending of the funds for the water study with Chazen. So let's plan on being together next Wednesday.
Can we also add to that? I'd like to try to get the person from SunPower here to
Sure.
discuss the email I sent to everybody regarding the solar panels on the rec center.
Absolutely, I'd love
I
to.
did speak to him. He said he was available next Wednesday. So you tell me what time. If we're going to do 7 with the first one, that shouldn't take too very long. What time you want to meet? That so I can get back to him to confirm.
7:30 and 7:45.
Okay. So 7:45. I will get back to him, confirm with him, and make sure he can make that. But he did indicate that he was available next Wednesday.
All right, great. At that same workshop, we're going to have to discuss the change in the low step for Continental Village. This is the length of service award program. So participants serve as active firefighters after attaining the entitlement age can still get points. So we just need to adopt this resolution. Tina, did you get this?
I know it came in my mail, I haven't been in this week.
So we'll get that also on there, and we can probably knock both these out before we start with SunPower.
I don't anticipate SunPower taking a lot of time either, but just if anyone has any questions, let's get them out in the open, then he can answer them, and then we can make a determination and
Great,
move moving
yeah.
forward with that.
As legislator Scuchamar said earlier, household waste collection this Saturday. Make an appointment. It's well worth getting rid of things that way. It makes it a lot easier. They come take it right away for you. And, I mean, you bring it over to Fawnstock, but I think that's where it is, isn't it? Yeah, Fawnstock, Canopas Beach parking lot. I've gone a lot to get rid of things we just don't want kicking around anymore. So, there's also Hudson Valley Relief Urban Forestry Workshop that they're having in Orange County at the Devitt Center in Middletown. Quite a drive, but it's a good program. I've attended this before, so anybody who's interested in how to take care of trees, this is an arborist class. Essentially, it's not free. It's $25, but
That's cool.
yeah, I mean it's a good program, a really good program. So that's something else. So along those same lines with trees, there's an availability of grant funds from the DEC for urban forestry projects, and that includes purchasing trees for things like schools. We did this before and had a small school forest going over there, and we wound up planting all the trees around the village that we got. So those are out there now, street trees. We got the Boy Scouts involved and got the school involved, and the kids, they were really into it, and they got to see a tree get planted on Main Street that came from the school, went to a street side tree, and now they can come back in 20 years and say, hey, I planted that tree, hopefully with one of their children.
Is this something we can use to mitigate the issues up on Route 9? I mean,
There's all sorts of programs here. You know, it's a pretty broad program. This has gotten even broader since back then the grants were like $1,000 or $2,000, but now they go from 11,000 to, I guess, 200,000. No, 11,000 to 75,000.
Wow.
But if anyone's interested in that program, we've been successful with it, and the money's there. And it's one of the grants you actually can get, so it's worthwhile. You know, not like
That's funny.
a lot. Not like the ones we apply for over and over. We do have a letter from the county exec here. I know Barb was CC'd on this with regard to the Friendship Center. You know, construction of Friendship Center will begin soon, so I know the seniors are elated over this, and hopefully we can all work it out where we get programs that we want there. Also, you know, we want the senior programs there, but also other items or other programs we'd love to see. There are tons of things we could get from the county, and if we have a space for it, let's avail ourselves to it. And I know there's some, I guess I'm being naive, but there's always contention about things. But the PINS program really comes to mind because after we had the evening where Danielle Pack McCarthy was introduced as the opioid crisis coordinator, it's apparent that several parents were really burdened by having to take time off from work to go across the county, whereas if we could have that here, it'd be much, much better for them. So we do look forward to working on that.
Yeah, the issue with that years ago, I brought it up every year, and the issue was always, well, when it did happen here, they didn't get enough people to attend. And I mean, that was 10 years ago, I think, at least. I mean,
Yeah,
things have
those were
changed
different times.
drastically.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
out of everybody is hit hard with this crisis, and PINS doesn't just address the opioid crisis, but if we can address some of the problems, then we can address the opioid crisis too.
It's true. Maybe next week we can also discuss this proposal from Comfort Master for the records room in the new building, to put a separate unit in there. I think it'd be more efficient to get a separate unit in that room, just to condition that room. So we can go over this next week and take a look at it.
So it's like a mini split or something?
Yeah, it'd be a mini split dedicated just to the records room, because that room has a high ceiling and it's gonna get warm in there. And Linda's working in there a lot. I know she runs in there, she's got a spare hour. They have so many files that have to go into the new rolling rack system over there. So, I guess that's it. Anything else from the town board?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Ed Murphy, I ran into Ed Murphy. He's invited us to the Memorial.
Uncle Terry's buddy.
Okay, yes. We're invited to march in the Memorial Day Parade. He said he wasn't going to send out any formal letters this year, but just wanted to make sure that everyone knew about that. That's one thing. I also want to remind everyone the fishing derby's this weekend. It's a good thing up on Fishka Road. So if you're going to Fishka Road this on Saturday, just be careful, drive slow, and watch out for the kids. I used to bring my kids there every year. It was always an exciting day. I'd also like to congratulate the Nest from the 20-year anniversary they just had over there. 20-year business is very successful. As you know, it's always good to have kids need care, and they provide it now for 20 years. So that's a good thing. One other thing, I'd just like to thank people who gave blood today at the blood drive. And one last thing, we still have the vouchers for the Royal vouchers. So it's springtime, spring cleaning. So if people want to get rid of a bunch of garbage or clean up the yards, whatever, I'll come down and see Tina and get a voucher and get 500 pounds of debris for free.
Good. Yeah. Avail yourself to it. We don't have to clean us, but you can come down, get a voucher, and go out to Royal. And they'll help you out there. That's good. Thanks, Bob.
Nancy and I, do you want to discuss?
No,
it?
go.
Nancy and I and
I'm sorry. Nancy and I and Amber met last night with Brian, and I can't remember his last
Brian Gerber.
Gerber from the Red Cross. He's the area director. In reference to the sheltering situation after the snowstorm, when there was some confusion about Garrison Firehouse hosting it versus the rec center, he has assured us if there is a need for a shelter in Putnam County, that it will be at the Philipstown Rec Center. There are two locations. One is definitely the rec center. The second one will be on the east side of the county somewhere, and they're still trying to determine exactly where that's going to be. He is also looking for an alternative site in Philipstown if, God forbid, there is some sort of tragedy at the rec center that it's not, in function. So we're going to be working to try to find another location. A lot of things came up. Graymore's certainly would work, but we'll come up with something and we'll present it to him. So it went well. He is committed to the rec center. He's thrilled with the building, thrilled with the location, that it's pet friendly. We are willing to take pets, and all the equipment is still sitting there. So
We got a generator.
we got a generator,
A
and we
big
have
one.
several Red Cross trailers there with tons of supplies.
But not only that, but we have trained personnel
Correct.
on our town level that are skilled at that, and the Red Cross does come in with their own personnel to run it, which is great.
We did.
We did a
we
training
off-
program.
I'm sorry.
We had like 15 volunteers that did attend
Right.
it that
Yeah,
day.
he
so.
spoke about that. We do have sheltering, qualified sheltering people to run the shelter. He assured us, my concern is if somebody from the Red Cross can't get there. He assured us that he will get somebody there. He said, we've been helicoptered in. He said, I will, or somebody will get here.
The
Guaranteed.
National Guard brings.
He
the
said
Red
the
Cross.
National Guard will, if he has to, get somebody there. It may take a few hours, but in the meantime, we can open up. The key is keeping people warm and dry and under a roof, and that will certainly be done until Red Cross gets there to. And Amber is trained in running the shelter, so.
And one of the things that sets us apart from other shelters is that we can take pets, and that's something that has been a great initiative of the Red Cross. And Brian Gerber was really impressed with what he saw at the rec department and what we can do, what the potential is there. And the training that Amber received with me down at FEMA in disaster preparedness, and the fact that we have 3 former. I'm a former emergency worker, and we have 2 firemen on our town board. We're in really good shape, I think, as a town in regard to emergency preparedness. We just need communication from the county when, it's up to it used to be up to the county executive to determine that a shelter is needed. And the protocol goes, the county executive calls the Red Cross, and the Red Cross opens. I don't know what happened the last storm. It's bizarre, but we're moving forward, and we just want to know, we want the town to know that we're prepared.
Thank you. I always like to say good shape for the shape we're in.
I hope we never need it.
That's
My
right.
grandfather said that.
Anything else from the board?
I do have do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
I have a couple of things that come to mind. One is, I don't want this meeting to go by without wishing my favorite Philipstown resident a happy 100th birthday last month. Joe Etta turned 100, and
Right.
I think we're really lucky to have him, to call him our own. He's up there on our wall, and what a hero. Brings to mind another hero that we lost recently was Jean Marzolo, and I just want to acknowledge how greatly she's missed and all that she did for our town. And everybody knows I really miss her, and I just want to make note of everything she's done, and she is a hometown hero. Which brings me to this great idea that Danielle Pack-McCarthy had, and you guys all received an email about acknowledging our hometown heroes. And her point is the key to prevention is connection, and she'd like to start connecting people, and we can do that by acknowledging our hometown heroes. So I think it's just we can just do this. We can send out. Make available an application for people to nominate a hometown hero, and we can acknowledge them. I'd like to just get it going right now. We can get the ball rolling. She's already got a draft for the nomination. You guys all have that, and we can have her run with it and announce it at the June meeting. And just, some great things. Everybody, has somebody that they want to put up on a pedestal, or like, you got to meet this person. They do all these great things for our town, or they do, wonderful things for the disabled, or they do wonderful volunteer work. And it would be great to highlight that at our meetings. And if we could just start next meeting and see what happens. I mean, Danielle's thought was it would be an annual thing, but maybe we need it once a month. Maybe we need it every 4 months. But it just want to highlight our people, because they're not acknowledged enough. And when you think about the people who we have here, like Joe, like Jean, there's a lot of people that we have.
So I'd like to just talk about it a little more at next Wednesday's workshop also, rather than just jumping right into it tonight, just to get a little more structure out of it. Say, okay, is it, like you said, is it monthly? And
Yeah, I just read the email today, and I like to have a little more time to think through it and exactly how it's going to be handled myself too. So I think it would be a good idea to talk about it next week.
Danielle wants to come in and say, well, here's what I'm thinking, or if you two
I'm not
want
going
to
to be here next
Well,
week.
I think
but-
that's what you were referring to for June, correct? Have
Well,
her come in?
it's just, it's pretty simple.
Right.
We review the nominations, and they're there. But she's already got the form. We can upload.
Oh, yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But
It looks pretty good.
Yeah. But I
yeah.
just
Okay.
flesh it out a little bit next week before we.
I'll see
kick it
if
off.
she can come in. But
Yeah, if you want to get together with her before then, and
Yeah.
she comes in, that's fine. Just spend a couple minutes.
You guys like the idea? And
Yes.
Yeah, the concept is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I
Yes.
understand.
Yep.
Acknowledging people.
So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Anything from the audience?
I have a question. Do I have to go over there?
Yes.
Come on, Liz, you know the routine.
You've been here long enough.
I know.
You just don't want.
Taller than I am.
Well, it'll pick you up no matter what.
Anyway, I know you guys have had stuff on your agenda tonight, a lot of stuff about water, groundwater, stormwater. And I know you're working on the Climate Smart Communities proposal and also on updating the comprehensive plan. Are you giving any thought at all in light of climate change, which appears to be real and upon us right now? We're actually having a special series in our paper that starts tomorrow on this issue. But are you giving any thought to possible changes in any of the zoning laws? For instance, to, whether the town needs to think about limiting people from building right on the riverbanks going forward. I'm thinking of Manitou Station flooding and that sort of thing, where homes get flooded, emergency workers have to go out. You know what happened. So are you at all thinking of any further changes to the zoning or anything else that would deal with the climate change problems that we're probably going to be having in the next 50 years or whatever?
Well, I think anybody who lives on the waterfront is fully aware that these high tides are a lot higher than they used to be, and that the storm surges are a lot more intense than they used to be. As far as priorities go, that doesn't strike me as number one. One thing that does strike me is, how are we going to get off fossil fuels here in this town, and how is not only this town, this county, this state going to be going to renewables in a big way, 100%. So that would be priority one as far as we're concerned, and that's the way we're moving anyway. That's what this whole Climate Smart initiative is about. It's about lowering your carbon footprint, but also reducing your power consumption, reducing the amount of fossil fuels that you're consuming. I mean, this goes hand in hand with all these initiatives, even the thing that Barbara brought up earlier, with plastic bags. I mean, it just seems we can't, pick the lowest hanging fruit. Everybody's got a beef with something, and it's serious now. This is no joke. The storms you see now are just not like anything I've ever seen. I've been alive for 56 years. They're so much more intense. Regardless of whether you agree with climate change or the fact that that's man-made, it's happening. So, as far as making ourselves more resilient, yes, we're aware of that. We also, if you look at the potential for building along the Hudson River, it's not all that great in Philipstown right now. You know, the Manitou Landing is built out. You're not going to see any new houses going down there. And our zoning does cover issues like as far as keeping back from any wet area, you know, and along the Hudson, it's regulated by New York State, the federal government, the Army Corps, town of Philipstown. So, and common sense would dictate if you're going to build in those areas, obviously you want to think heavily about what's going to happen. But I mean, I think as far as priorities go here, we really need to look at where we're getting our power from, where our electricity is coming from, what kind of vehicles we're driving, and how we're going to combat climate change, how we're going to, I feel like we're at the last possible moment to try to turn back the tide, but
And I think, we've taken a lot of those initiatives. To the good fortune of the Land Trust and Michelle and this updating the water study, things we did do in the zoning when we rezoned the town had that in mind. Creating the Climate Smart Community Committee and trying to become a certified climate smart community. Those are all initiatives that we're taking with the help of the citizens in the town who, are initiating a lot of it.
and they're directly related to climate change. That is what spurs these things on.
One thing that Richard and I both did, and I would encourage anybody to take this, is the PACE Land Use Law Center
Leadership
Alliance programs, as far as, elected officials and community leaders, that's their focus.
Yeah, it is.
We have a really aggressive group here at Climate Smart. Obviously, Roberto Muller will be here next month,
Yes.
giving an update. I can tell you, I attend those meetings every month. They're an enthusiastic group. We have 20 signed up people, and we have another 70 people that are willing to help on projects as well. And I think it speaks very well for this town regarding all of these issues we're talking about here. Obviously, he's really trying to get his hands around grants, because grants will allow us to do different programs and so forth. But I would speak to flooding because I deal with it personally I see it at the oceans. There is a lot of new regulation. If you haven't been to the oceans of Long Island and New Jersey and so forth, go take a look. Their dunes are becoming massively high. You can't any more building now. You have to go up 9 feet in the air and so forth. There's dramatic changes occurring there. And our Hudson River is going to be affected by the Atlantic Ocean, and is, from saline intrusion and from water depth. So it's good to pay attention to what's happening there, as Rich said about Climate Smart, because there will be certain things we have to adapt to, because we have made changes to the environment, whether we did them or nature or whatever you want. Things have happened and changed, and we'll have to adapt to them and so forth. But the more we start early and work on these issues, the more choices we have. The longer we wait, the less options we'll have, and we'll be forced to do things we're not going to be as happy with. So I think that's an important lesson to learn.
Yeah, we're slow learners as humans too, so unless it hits you hard. And during Sandy, the waterfront here was underwater. Yes, Janice.
Just, I'm curious if, do I have to go to the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, I am curious if, if any of you have attended any workshops with the state concerning the waterfronts, because, the tide, regular high tide now is only about a foot away from the top of the rocks along the end of Main Street, so it's not much further to go, and that kind of mitigation takes decades. Is any of that happening?
No, we got our fingers in other dikes.
Yeah.
Constantly. We're aware of that. We don't regulate the Cold Spring waterfront. So I know there was a group that was working on waterfront revitalization, and I know there's going to be a resilience project, a pilot project that they're doing at the former dockside property, that they're revitalizing that waterfront there to try to create resiliency. You would think that agencies like Metro North would be the most concerned, because their entire business model is about being impacted. Right. And that's, a lot of people depend on that. That's where they get their money. But they seem to have their head in the sand by and large, which is strange. The other thing we are doing here is we've started a community choice aggregation program for electrical purchase, which we're hoping, we're about 50% into that now. We'll be hearing from our consultant within the next week as to, he's putting in an RFP that will go out to power suppliers so the entire town of Philipstown can become, go on to renewable resource supplied electricity. So and people don't have to freak out about that, because one of the qualifications for that is that you will get a lower rate at the same time.
I made the postcard that went out last year to explain it, so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But we're in the midst of that, and for people who don't know, it's going to be a big deal, and hopefully we can coordinate that with the county also. I know at one point they were talking about a CCA, but this CCA is going to be driven towards renewable resource energy production.
Okay.
Thank you.
Since I am here already,
Yes.
can I just ask if you are interested in getting a share of your sales tax back from the county?
Always. Oh, Barbara's going, no.
Yes, we have. For any of you who don't know me, I'm Janice Hogan. I live in the village of Cold Spring. Last year I was attending the Philipstown Community Congress, and I brought up that I've heard for a couple decades that our elected officials would love to get money back from the county. And I've talked to Barbara, and I understand that it's a pretty complicated issue. But all the same, because if you raise your voice with any idea at the Community Congress, you own it. Here I am. I have started a committee with a relatively simple idea to put some pressure on our elected officials at the county level, really I'm talking about the county executive, to return a portion of the sales tax to the locations that created that sales tax. I sent to all of you, at least I hope I did send to all of you, that I didn't miss anyone, a PowerPoint that I made, because I wanted to make sure that even if I didn't get a chance to talk to you directly in a workshop, that I could explain the point of what we're trying to do. So it's completely nonpartisan. And we hope to hear from our elected officials, all of you, and that includes across the county. There are a couple ways that we can do that, so that by collecting pertinent information, we can build a campaign to get it out there in social media, through the newspapers, however it works, especially however it works when you have no money, to communicate to people who are voters in the county that there is an issue, that we are one of only 11 counties that don't get a portion of sales tax returned to the locations that generated that sales tax, and that there has been a county in the last 5 years that changed from being a non-distributing county to being a distributing county, so it's not impossible. And we don't want to get into the weeds of all the different ways that sales tax is used. We really want to collect signatures for a petition to send to the county executive to say, we have made these issues. We've gathered information. We've made these this issue more public to voters in the county, and generally across the board, we have a lot of people who believe that we should get a portion of our sales tax back in one way or another, whether it's a surplus year or as a regular distribution. So ideally, I would like to come to you at a workshop, preferably with one or two other people from, at least from the group, so that there are more ears than mine to listen to you, to hear what it is that you have been asking, where you have run into, a stone wall on that, and perhaps most importantly, how you'd like to use those funds, because I think when we are talking to regular voters, That's really what's going to resonate. To me, what I noticed and talking to my neighbors and friends in Philipstown was, once the skies are clear, our streets are filled with cars and people, and it's way more than it used to be, and that's because of social media. Everybody knows now that this is a great place to come hiking, and they have discovered every waterfall and every trail, and they're on it, and I, I'm aware that the township needs more money just to deal with all of the people and all that people do, whether it's trash collection or parking or, even maintaining trails and keeping people's homes, driveways from being blocked. So I think it's really an important thing to hear from you and also to hear from you how we might be able to talk to other elected officials across the county. So invite me to a workshop. When can you fit me in?
We could do the 16th. Because next Wednesday we're booked.
Okay, the 16th.
That's a Wednesday, right?
Okay, I'll put it on my calendar. And is there anyone who didn't get or didn't notice the little movie? It was the PowerPoint without the sound in it. So if
Hitting my phone, getting the volume.
yeah, unfortunately, with the version I have, it would not save with sound. So I'm sorry about that. But if anyone needs for me to send it again, I'll be happy to do that. Okay.
Got it right here.
Thanks, Janice.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
See you on the 16th.
7:30?
7:30. One more thing. All right, Columbo.
I would love to be in on the discussion.
Come on in.
I have
Yeah.
all the statistics on why the county says they can't. But, if there is a surplus, why don't we work on an issue that we can all agree on and see if we
There have
can.
been several years in a row of surpluses.
Yeah.
That's not planned money. So to be able to sit down and
I
talk
know.
about when we reach beyond a point.
It's not
seems
like the
reasonable.
county is putting it somewhere and just hoarding it. They're using it for good use to keep our taxes low. But, let's talk about it.
Create incentives. I don't think we can discuss another time.
Excuse me?
Creates incentives, though.
It's not coming here.
Well, it keeps your county tax low.
All right, let's.
But
Yeah,
that's,
Let's stop
we'll
there for
talk
now.
about
This
it.
is a discussion we can have at the
Definitely,
workshops.
we'll talk about it. I'd be
It is-
happy to.
Boy, look at the time.
And the only thing I want to say is about the shelter. Commissioner Clare did make an error. He fell on the sword a couple of times. The Red Cross was in the room too when he called Garrison Fire Department.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the other night I said and when we spoke, we don't want to look back, let's just look forward.
exactly.
that-
And Garrison stepped up and did a great
Oh,
job.
water under the bridge.
I'm going to bring Kenny over to meet Amber and walk around the facility and see for himself what it is. So, no harm, no
We'd love
foul.
to be included on those meetings that the county's having. It would be great if the supervisor was at least invited to the meetings that,
To what meeting?
the meeting you had with the Red Cross and Ken Clare, and there's one coming up, I believe, that I heard about.
I don't
So
know about that one.
If, they're having meetings
I don't
about-
form the meetings. That's emergency services. I was invited to the meeting. I went.
I can reach out to him.
I didn't know who was there. Yeah, anytime. He's a good guy.
We'll talk.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from the audience? Nothing? Ma'am, you've been sitting here all night. I don't know who you are. You're the only one in the room who hasn't spoken so far. I'm looking at you. Okay,
Welcome.
welcome. It's just we see new faces and we want to know who you are. It's always foreboding. I was like, what did I do? There's somebody new here. I must have done something wrong. Somebody's annoyed about something. All right. With that, Kim? No. I'm going to smack you.
So, just in terms of talking about climate change and the town and all that kind of stuff, I went to a very basic seeker and planning board training last month, or 6 weeks ago, something like that. And one of the things that was really interesting is that the guy who got up and spoke was from Rye, the town of Rye. And he said, you know, most of you, you know, you're going to do seeker. We don't really do seeker in Rye because there's nothing to preserve. It's all built out.
Ooh, nice.
So I just want to keep that in mind.
Wearing it like a badge.
Yeah.
There's
That-
nothing left.
Right. That we don't want to be in that
That could
position.
be a nice bumper sticker, Rye, there's nothing left.
Yeah. So anyway, I just,
It's got a good ring to it.
Yeah, I
Invites
just think
people
it's
in,
something
but
we
there's
can
nowhere for them to go because
try
there's
to
nothing left.
try to remember that we have a lot to preserve here.
We do, and we're doing a good job of doing it, because we
All right.
got a lot of smart people here. Yeah, Beacon's up against it. They're really up against it. All right, vacancies, Recreation Commission 1, who's coming on? Got anybody?
Talking it up.
Talking it up? All right. Continental Village Water District 1, Mike, what do you,
I had a person, Mr. Versace of Howland, we've both met him, John, we walked around, and I thought he was going to apply.
you slipped out of your grip?
I just losing my touch, I guess. I'll have to talk to him again.
Yeah. Or you just appoint them when they're not around. That's what we generally do. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Water District. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Adjourned.
That's it.